welcome back to One on One. My name is Jess Brady. We are at Bull and Barrel in London with this month's episode of One on One, and I am extremely pleased to say that we are joined by Marie Bottrell here.
Hello, Jess.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And you have had a prolific career, and it goes back to when you were just a young wee child.
11
years old, and you started out playing with a family band.
Yep, my brother, my sister, and my sister-in-law, the three of us, and I think three of us were all underage at the time, so my parents had to go everywhere with us, and played a lot of weddings, Army, Navy, Legions, and it was late for a little kid to stay up. I used to be in charge of looking after the purses at the end of the night.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, because we hear so often of, adults who are touring right now, and it's taxing on them.
It is.
And, as you said, it's tough when you're a little kid. I mean, do you have like fond memories from performances?
I do. We had the family band had a following, and my dad worked at McCormick's, and he had a lot of people from his work used to come on and see us, and it was fun. It was a great time of my life.
Absolutely.
It kept me out of trouble.
Well, there you go, right?
Yeah.
Hard to be in trouble when you have a mic in your hand on a stage.
Yeah.
Unless you're a comedian. Sometimes
that's true.
But it wasn't long after that you got your first record deal. You were like 16, right?
Yeah, so we sent a demo tape into the Mercy Brothers, who had a big recording studio in Elmira at the time. They had a jingle factory and a record label and a publishing company, and they were still touring and winning all kinds of awards. And they signed me to a publishing deal, and shortly after that I went down and recorded there, and had my first two albums were on their label, MBS Records.
And I'm wondering what Billy is wondering about, and I'm hoping he's missing me.
Yeah, the first single did really well straight out of the gate, and I started touring. I was on the road probably 45, 48 weeks out of the year. And it was hard, but I was young back then and had the
Young now.
had the energy to do all of that, and it was like the best and the worst of times. It was the best of times musically and the whole experience, and the worst of times, some of the accommodation that we stayed in, I couldn't do it now.
Because it's true, when you're touring, you're going through big cities and sometimes very small little towns, right? Were there any memories that stick out in particular of places that you went to, a favorite spot or somewhere that was a little bit on the dodgy side?
Yeah, I played at this little bar in Kenora on the way on a big Western tour, and it was like one bathroom in the hall, and there were patrons living up there, and we all had to share that bathroom. The band and I, we all had our rooms up over the bar, and it was like, that's what I mean. It was just a different time back then, and then you end up going to Edmonton and playing some fantastic spot, and you have a great place to stay. So it was just like such a mixed bag of what you went through. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at maybe when you started out to how things are today, what kind of changes do you notice between then and now? Because you said it is not the same as it used to be. How have things changed?
Well, there was no CMT when I started out. Nobody had a video, and to get your name out there, it was like you traveled 48 weeks a year and played in every bar going, and they smoked in bars back then, so they were smoky bars, and you just constantly were out on the road. Now you can release a video and millions of people see you, but it wasn't that way back then. And so it's easier now maybe in that respect, but you kind of hone your skill and get your chops by doing it the other way too. So there's good and bad with both, right?
It's true, yeah. And I feel like maybe sometimes I'm not sure, if there are more impediments now to getting out there on the road. There would have been a lot of challenges, previously as well. But even now, I think there's a lot more financial commitment sometimes.
Yeah, and the way people buy music is totally different today. My first album, there was an 8-track, so that's how long I'm going back. where they went clunk clunk in the middle of your song, and cassettes and stuff, and yeah, so it was a whole different time.
And things have also changed quite a great deal with country music itself,
Yes,
right?
with the style of it, yes.
Yeah, because now we have a lot more crossover artists. You have Taylor Swift, who started out as more country-based, but now her sound is a lot more mainstream pop. Florida
Yes.
Georgia Line has been able to, cross over. Sam Hunt, all very popular names. What do you make of this? Almost like a resurgence of the country sound in general life, general population.
Well, I think for me, it's kind of through every decade. And even where we are now, there's stuff I really like and there's stuff I don't like. But when I go back to, the 50s and 60s, there was stuff then I really liked and stuff that I thought was crappy then. I think, so I think it's the same in every decade. It's like, but the good stuff always rises to the top, and it's like.
It's exciting, and that's also like a hopeful message as well. Because when we were speaking with Jessica Mitchell earlier, she said, I think there was a time when music went through a little bit of a struggle. Maybe it was a little less about the honest emotions, perhaps. Yes. Some music, not all. Yeah. But it's nice to hear that it does shine through. The cream of the crop, as you said, does rise.
I mean, the one thing I notice about country music, people always talk about it being around drinking, and which is true. The one thing I noticed was like when George Jones was singing about drinking, it was a way to like drown their sorrows. I mean, they were like in despair, and they would hide in the bottle to get mask all that pain they were in. And drinking now a lot of times is equated with, hey, let's party. So that part of the whole drinking and country music is very different.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shift culturally.
From a songwriting perspective too, right?
Absolutely. No, it's very interesting to see that shift and how popular it is with a younger crowd now, right? Because I think there was a time when, probably before I was in university or what have you, if a young person was like, oh, I really like country music, it was a little more rare. But now, because of those crossover artists,
it wasn't cool to like country music when I was 16.
which is sad, because there's tons of great artists, right, who are just so fundamental to our music.
Barbara Mandrell said it was country when country wasn't cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you had a chance to perform with some real legends and work with them. You yourself are a legend, obviously. But who is maybe someone that you really, really loved working with in your career?
I toured quite a bit with Lee Greenwood, and I toured with Marty Robbins, and they were really nice to me, kind to me, and made me feel like I belonged there with them, and those were all great experiences. I had my road band with me, and we did several dates with them, so that was really in the 80s, and I look fondly back at those memories, for sure.
Absolutely, and there were Juno nominations then too, which is fantastic.
Yes, yeah, lots of Juno nominations and country music awards, and yes, fun times.
It takes control of your life. Oh, girls get lonely too. Yeah, even girls get blue. They lose control when they're unconsoled, just like some guys do. Oh, girls get lonely too.
There's stuff going on with you right now, some shows that you've got going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm not actively recording anymore. I went down to Nashville several times, kind of, into my late 30s, and basically, you're too old. You reach a point where you're just too old to be signed as a new artist. And so I came home, and, I had a lot of singing left in me, so it's like, what am I going to do with myself if I'm not actively recording? And I didn't really have the luxury either of being able to just pick up and move down there. So I decided, I fell into doing a theater production just by accident. I got a call from the Huron Country Playhouse and said, would you go and audition for this part in this show? And I did. It was the first time that I did a Patsy Cline theater production. Oh, fantastic. And so I went and I got it, and I did a whole summer run at Grand Band for the summer. And I kind of liked it. It was fun. And so since then I've been in a lot of different productions and stuff, and I now write and produce and star in different shows. So
That's exciting.
yeah, it is exciting.
And a wonderful way to continue on with your love and passion of music. So.
Yes, I can still sing, and go out and perform and do what I love to do, and it's just in a different capacity, right?
Wonderful. And one question that I wanted to ask you was, if you had advice for someone coming up in the industry right now, what would it be?
Don't just trust people blindly. People that you think sometimes have your back don't always. And so ask lots of questions. If you get a funny feeling that something isn't right, check it out.
Yeah, trust it, right? Trust
Yes.
your gut.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. No, I mean, because there's so much hard work that goes into it, and there have to be the right conditions for things to work out. So that's certainly one of them, having the right people around you. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we have just 1 minute left, and
Okay.
we want to do our signature piece of the program, which is Fast Facts.
Okay.
Where we ask you a bunch of questions just to get to know you a little better.
All right.
So I'm going to start off with favorite vacation spot.
Somewhere that I've never been, that I really want to go. I've never been to New York, and that I really want to go to New York, so I'm going to say New York.
Fantastic. All right. Favorite color.
Pink.
Pink, excellent, very cheery color. If you have your favorite meal, breakfast or dinner out of the two?
Dinner.
Dinner, excellent, okay. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee. And lots of it.
You always have to have it. I mean, it's like fuel, right?
Basically.
Favorite animal?
Dog.
Dog, okay. Favorite book?
Not a big reader, so don't really have a favorite book.
That's all right.
I'm a magazine kind of girl.
Hey, no, nothing wrong with that. You gotta have the magazines. Nice light reading sometimes.
Yeah.
Favorite artist? Past or present?
I have several favorite. I was a huge Glenn Campbell fan when I was, 16. I mean, Glenn Campbell was my Keith Urban of the day, and
Okay.
it was like, but I listened to a lot of Glenn Campbell and definitely Patsy.
And if people want to follow along with all your adventures and the shows that you're doing up at Huron County Playhouse, where can they go? What can they?
I do have a website, Marie Bottrell. Just Google me and my website pops up, and I am on Facebook. So
Fantastic.
I'm old, but I'm with the times.
Hey, you're out there. You are connected. Well, Marie, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Jess. Appreciate it very much.
Pleasure to speak with you and have us join us.
Thank you.
Well, that marks the end of another episode of One on One. Thanks so much for joining us.